You're not just watching a story unfold. You're seeing something no one else ever has. Not really. Something hidden behind a veil so thick, so suffocating, that most would turn away the moment their eyes catch the faintest glimpse of it. But you're still here. You're holding this thread in your hands, and with every passing second you feel the impossible sinking in deeper, curling into the very marrow of your bones. The air grows heavier around you. Your heartbeat quickens. Not from fear alone, but from the terrible fascination that you're about to glimpse something that was never meant for you to see. Because here is the question no one has dared to whisper aloud. What if the most gruesome death in the entire solar system, something so harrowing it defies all logic, all science, didn't happen on some distant war-torn planet or a forsaken asteroid, but on Venus? Yes, Venus. That blinding, toxic, boiling hellscape orbiting so close to Earth it looks like a gleaming pearl in the night sky. The goddess of love cloaked in a poisonous, swirling veil of clouds. But this is no romantic tragedy. This is a nightmare writ large across the heavens. A death so cruel, so profoundly alien, that the very laws of nature seem to recoil in horror. You're about to see something they never wanted you to see. Something buried deep within classified files and wiped from every public record. The kind of footage that was supposed to be erased, forgotten, locked away behind impenetrable firewalls and government silence. It's not just a story of a death. It's a revelation that bends the fragile edges of reality itself. But before you watch, listen carefully to this. Last week, in a sealed research outpost on Venus, a scientist whispered a name no one had ever heard before. A name so old, so intimately tied to a mystery no one alive remembers. It sent a shockwave through the minds of everyone who heard it. And then, she vanished. No trace, no explanation. As if swallowed whole by the planet itself. No alarms went off. No rescue was launched. Because what they feared wasn't what happened to her, but what she had said. And what they were about to discover, something hidden beneath the sulfuric skies, changed everything. You might think Venus is just a planet of fire and acid, an inferno where no living thing could possibly survive. The truth is far stranger. There's a silence there that presses down like lead, a stillness that lingers even beneath the constant roar of storms and the thick, choking clouds. It's a silence that holds memories, fractured whispers of a presence so subtle, so impossible, it almost feels like the planet itself is watching you back. The footage you're about to witness was recorded by a probe sent not just to collect geological data, but to explore something no one on Earth dared to study openly. An anomaly deep within the upper atmosphere of Venus, something moving against every known law of physics. At first it looked like a glitch, a trick of the camera lens. Then it moved, and everything changed. But the scientists who saw it were never the same. Their voices trembled when asked to describe what they'd seen. Their reports were redacted. And one by one they disappeared. Not physically, no, at least not always. Some vanished from this reality itself, slipping into shadows where no light reaches. It starts with the whisper, barely audible over the static. A voice, cracked with desperation and ancient sorrow, repeating a name that makes no sense. Lysara. The name echoes through the communications channel. A ghost trapped in the wires. Spoken by a woman whose eyes were wide with a terror that could not be explained. You feel it as she says it. That word. As if it lodges itself inside your mind. Something about it rings familiar, hauntingly so. But no one alive knows where it comes from. The name was never supposed to be spoken. Yet it was, just before she vanished, as if pulled back into a time and place nobody else can reach. What was she trying to tell us? What lies beneath those sulfur clouds that the solar system's greatest minds have been too afraid to admit? The answer is not in the stars. It's buried beneath the blinding heat and crushing pressure, wrapped in layers of Venus's burning secrets. The recording flickers. A figure appears. A lone woman, standing against the backdrop of the infernal landscape, her suit torn, eyes wide with disbelief. She speaks into her comms, voice cracking with raw emotion. I've found it, it's alive. Not just life, something older, something waiting. And then the air shifts, the camera wavers, a shadow moves, too fast, too unnatural, like a ripple tearing through the fabric of reality. The woman whispers that name again, Lysera, and the feed cuts to static. You are now the only witness to what happened next. The most gruesome death, they say, is one so complete it unravels the very soul. But what you're about to see isn't just death. It's a shattering, a rupture in the fragile veil that separates what is from what should never be. It's a loss so profound, so viscerally wrong, that even the planet itself seems to shudder. You're left with a question burning hotter than Venus itself. What happens when something dies that was never meant to live? And more importantly, what if that death was only the beginning? The screen flickers again, and this time the message is clearer. The voice returns, no longer human, twisted and echoing with layers of something unrecognizable, yet heartbreakingly intimate. Lysera. It whispers, I am coming home, and with that the impossible begins. Watch closely, because the truth is no longer out there in the void of space. It's here, right now, in the silent scream of a planet that should have been nothing but a lifeless hell. And as you watch, you realize something even more terrifying. The horror waiting on Venus is already reaching out to us all. Your eyes might betray you. Your mind might race to explain away the nightmare unfolding. But the question that lingers, cold, insistent, unrelenting, is one no one has dared ask until now. What if the most gruesome death in the solar system was only the prelude to something far worse? The screen goes black for a heartbeat longer. Then it should, then nothing. Not the roar of storms, not the hum of machinery, not even the whisper of static. Just silence, raw, hollow, unyielding. And in that silence, a question begins to claw its way out from the dark corners of your mind. Did you really see what you think you saw? Or was it something else? A trick of the light, a fracture in your own perception, the twisted echo of something buried deep beneath your consciousness. Because after the final chilling whisper, Lysera, I am coming home, the footage fractures and fractures again, until the images collapse into a storm of glitches and unrecognizable shadows. And with each flicker, the line between what's real and what isn't starts to bleed away, as if the very act of watching this story unravels your grip on reality. It's a feeling you can't shake, like an itch beneath your skin or a word half-remembered that dances just out of reach. You try to hold on to the images, but they warp. The voice warps, and the memory warps. And then you realize something's missing. Not just from the footage, but from your own mind. There's a hole where certainty once lived, a gap where the story should be whole, but instead, it's a tangle of fractured truths and half-buried lies. You start to replay the recording, again and again, searching for clues in the static, desperate for answers. And that's when you notice it. An audio glitch buried deep beneath the whispered name. A subtle, irregular pulse beneath the noise, almost like a heartbeat, or a warning. And that's when she appears. Her name is Dr. Helen Maris, a psychologist, contracted by the agency that sent the probe to Venus, someone who was never meant to speak publicly, and certainly never meant to meet you. She steps into the frame not as a savior or a narrator, but as a cracked mirror reflecting your own doubts and fears. Her voice is calm, but there's a tremor beneath it, a whisper of trauma no one asks about but everyone knows. You have to understand, she says, eyes flickering with something almost too heavy to bear. What you saw might not be what happened, or maybe what happened is something your mind isn't ready to accept. Her words hang in the air, tangled in their own uncertainty. You want to believe her, but every instinct screams that she's hiding something, that she's a thread pulled loose from a tapestry frayed at the edges. And then, like a half-remembered dream slipping away upon waking, her story fractures. She contradicts herself, questions her own memories, and sometimes in moments you catch only in the corner of your eye, you swear she's looking past the camera, past you, into something darker, something only she can see. You find yourself wondering, is she helping you untangle this mystery, or is she part of it? Is she the keeper of the truth behind what no one tells you, or a ghost lost inside her own fractured mind? More unsettling still are the recordings you stumble upon, hidden in archives not meant for public eyes, fragments that hint at experiments, conversations erased from official reports, voices overlapping in layers of static and silence. In one file, a laugh echoes where none should be, and in another, a distant voice repeats the name Lysara, but distorted, twisted until it sounds like a warning or a plea. And then the memories start to slip. You try to recall details from the footage, the scientist's last words, Dr. Maris's hesitant confessions, but they fade, replaced by something else, fleeting images of a child's cry, the sharp scent of ozone, a voice speaking a language you don't understand but feel buried deep in your bones. You're left suspended in a space between worlds, where every certainty dissolves, where your mind becomes a battleground between trauma and something not quite natural. The truth they don't want you to remember is elusive, hiding behind a curtain of silence and omission. The more you reach for it, the further it drifts, like a shadow just beyond the corner of your vision. And all the while, that name, Lysara, lingers. A key or a curse no one can say. But one thing is certain, whatever happened on Venus, whatever that death was, it's not finished with you yet, because now you're not just watching a story, you're part of it. And as the line between nightmare and reality blurs, you realize the most dangerous mystery isn't out there on some distant planet. It's here, inside your mind, where the silence screams louder than any storm. For a moment, just a flicker in the relentless cascade of confusion, you thought you had it. The scattered puzzle pieces, once so maddeningly disjointed, began to align, whispering a story you could almost grasp, a hidden truth buried beneath years of silence and erasure, a truth so simple it slipped through all the noise, waiting to be found. The mystery, it seemed, was unraveling. You remembered that old, half-forgotten file tucked away in an unmarked server, the one with faded timestamps and corrupted metadata. It held a confession, a raw, unfiltered account from the original mission commander, a voice cracked with exhaustion and something darker, maybe even remorse. He spoke of a failure, a malfunction, a breach of protocol caused not by alien forces or cosmic horrors, but by human error and desperation. The Venus expedition, you realized, was a cover-up, a desperate attempt to contain an experiment gone wrong. The monstrous death, the strange disappearances, the whispers of Lysara, they were all echoes of a buried catastrophe, one that had been concealed beneath layers of classified files and official silence. You leaned closer to the screen, heart pounding as Dr. Maris's face appeared again. Clearer this time, her eyes sharp, the tremor gone. She guided you through this revelation with clinical precision, her voice steady, as she connected the dots between malfunctioning equipment, psychological breakdowns, and a covert project that tampered with something neither science nor sanity was prepared to handle. You thought you understood now. The tragedy was human-made, a cautionary tale of hubris and fear. Relief bloomed inside you, the kind that comes when the impossible becomes explainable, when the shadows in the dark finally take shape and bow to reason. But then, just as the weight of understanding settled, a detail you hadn't noticed before twisted like a jagged shard through your certainty. Buried deep in the logs, hidden beneath layers of redaction and encrypted footnotes, was a single, unaccounted-for transmission, a voice unmistakably human but distorted and faint, whispering that name again, Lysara. Except this time it wasn't spoken from Venus. It came from Earth, a place and time long before the mission even launched. That name, Lysara, had followed you here, from your past, from memories that didn't quite fit, that felt like fragments of a nightmare you had somehow lived but buried so deep you'd convinced yourself it was gone. And as the transmission repeated, the unease grew. The voice wasn't just a ghost in the machine. It was a call, an echo of something you'd tried to forget, the shadow of a trauma so familiar it scraped at the edges of your sanity. It was the night you thought you'd lost everything, the night the memories slipped away, the screams you never fully remembered hearing, the emergency sirens blaring just outside your childhood home, the frantic whispers of your mother pleading with someone you never saw. That night had been locked away, coded in silence, and silence alone. Yet here it was, bleeding back into your consciousness, the same unnameable dread twisting its way through time and space, linking your past to the poisoned skies of Venus. And then the feeling settled over you like a cold fog, an unseen presence watching, patient and waiting, threading its way through every memory, every forgotten detail, every flicker of doubt. It wasn't a being you could point to, or a face you could name. It was something more insidious, a force that thrived on silence and secrecy, on the spaces between truth and lies, on the very cracks in your mind that you had learned to hide. It was personal, intimate, lurking just beyond your grasp, feeding off the fear you hadn't realized you still carried. The screen flickers once more, and suddenly you see it, not in the footage, but in your own reflection, flickering across the glass. A subtle shift in the shadows behind you, a whisper in the air you hadn't noticed before, a glitch in the memory you thought was stable. The entire story you've been watching, the unraveling, the revelations, the promise of closure, it's all a mask, a carefully crafted illusion designed to make you believe you're not crazy, to make you believe you've uncovered the mystery. But now, with that single transmission haunting your mind, with the past bleeding into the present, you realize the terrifying truth. The story is not only unfinished, it's been rewritten from the start. You're forced to look back, to watch it all again, because everything you thought you knew has shifted beneath your feet, and the real horror lies not in what happened on Venus, but in what they don't want you to remember, and what they've been watching all along. You've never been alone in this. That much becomes clear when the walls you thought separated your experience from the world begin to crumble, and you realize others have been silently watching, waiting in the same shadowed place you found. Yourself trapped in. Others who know what you know but don't speak it aloud, as if the very act of naming the truth would shatter their fragile hold on reality. These aren't faceless strangers. Sometimes they appear in your dreams like half-remembered reflections, strangers who whisper in voices that feel like your own, sending cryptic messages laced with urgency and despair. Other times, it's in the way a flickering symbol, a carved glyph, a recurring glitch, creeps into your vision just on the edge of perception, a secret sign only those bound by this mystery can decipher. And when these messages come, folded inside found footage from 20 years ago, or hidden in government files the public was never meant to see, you begin to feel something far heavier than paranoia, an unmistakable pull toward a larger force, ancient and calculated, working in silence behind the scenes. The conspiracy no longer feels distant. It has become visceral, threaded through the very fibers of your identity and memory, twisting your understanding of what is real and what is a carefully crafted illusion. You begin to question not just the footage, not just the voice of Lysera, but yourself, the reliability of your own mind and the origin of your memories. Were those flashes of trauma yours, or were they implanted, seeded to control, to manipulate? If what the government never released has seeped into your subconscious, shaping your dreams and clouding your waking hours, then who are you really? And who else might be watching you, watching all of you, as the story unfolds? Into this fragile web steps a third presence, an observer who does not wear the mask of confusion or fear, but seems to carry the burden of unbearable knowledge, the kind that isolates more than it enlightens. Their voice is dissonant yet compelling, their words laced with cryptic warnings and hints that everything you believed was only the surface of something far darker. They claim no allegiance to the official versions, no trust in the sanitized narratives spoon-fed to the public. Instead, they speak from a place that feels like the only truth left, the raw, unsettling core of a reality warped by unseen hands. Their perspective fractures the illusion further, peeling back layers of control and exposing a system designed to fracture identity itself, to keep everyone doubting their own senses. And so you're left in the dark, part of something bigger and more dangerous than you ever imagined. A puzzle with pieces scattered across time and memory, connected by symbols, shared whispers, and the cold weight of surveillance that stretches beyond the screen. You were right all along. There is a truth hiding beneath the surface, but it's wrapped in silence, coated in fear, and protected by forces that don't want it uncovered. The story is far from over, and the deeper you dig, the more you realize that to understand the mystery on Venus is to confront the shadow lurking inside yourself and the world watching you through unblinking eyes. The screen blinks once, twice, and then, just before everything fades again, you catch a glimpse. Name, a number, a symbol, and you know you're being invited whether you want to or not into the next chapter. The one where the watchers stop watching and the hunted start to remember. There comes a moment when the noise inside you quiets, when all the chaos of fractured memories, whispered lies, and shadowed conspiracies collapses into a single unbearable question. Why? Not what happened on Venus, not who disappeared, not which secret was buried beneath layers of deceit, but why? Why did it have to happen at all? What dark thread runs through the heart of this mystery that pulls so fiercely at the core of your being? Because now, beyond the cold facts and the chilling footage, beyond the broken voices and the coded warnings, it's no longer about the event itself. It's about the raw, fragile, impossible thing that unites us all, the desperate, trembling truth of being human. You stand at the edge of this revelation, the air thick and suffocating around you. The truth waits there like a blade, shimmering with terrible clarity but sharp enough to cut you in two. You realize this truth may unravel everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your memories, about your mind, and yet, it might also be the only thing that can save you from sinking deeper into the darkness. And in that moment of unbearable vulnerability, the weight of choice presses down on your chest. Do you embrace the shattering light of truth, no matter the cost? Or do you retreat into the comforting shadows of doubt, where ignorance might still feel like safety? A confession bubbles up, raw and trembling, from the depths of your soul. You admit it to yourself, maybe even aloud, though the words feel like shards cutting through fragile skin. You were broken before this began. Not by Venus, not by the disappearance, but by a silent fracture long before, one no one dared to speak about, one that shaped you into the perfect vessel for this haunting secret. The mystery was never just outside. It was always inside you, entwined with your pain, your fear, your desperate yearning to understand. And now, with everything on the brink of collapse, you understand that to truly face what's coming, you must confront not only the cosmic horror lurking beyond our world, but the quiet void within. This awakening is no peaceful dawn, but a terrifying, blinding eruption. Your mind stretches open like a wound, bleeding truth and confusion in equal measure, and you see it all. The watchers, the lost, the silenced, the lies that cradle humanity's darkest fears. It's no longer a story to be watched from the outside. It's a lived nightmare, a shared breath held tight in the cold vastness of existence. You are awake now, jolted from a dream you didn't know you were trapped inside, and the line between reality and illusion dissolves into a single pulse of raw being. As the screen darkens, a final thought lingers, an echo wrapped in sorrow and strange, fierce hope, a line that pierces the silence and makes you hesitate, heart pounding, mind racing, yearning for what comes next. Some truths don't want to be found. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time. Remember, some truths don't want to be found.